with this slide. Thank you. So with all these slides, right? So what we're talking about is with design thinking, what we've seen, right? So a lot of the times, a lot of the organizations that we work with from a consulting perspective are usually focused in project. And so they're very focused on delivery. They're very focused and measured on timeline and schedules. You hear words like requirements, dates, and milestones. You hear terminology like, let's figure out what our deadline is and work backwards, right? So you hear that a lot. And so like when we're as user experience professionals, we're always trying to figure out how do we get them to shift that thinking, but also how do we get them thinking more about like, what's the outcome? What are you trying to achieve as a business? And then be able to measure ourselves based on those outcomes. So that's what we're looking at, doing user research, exploration activities, things that help us define what those goals are for the user. So the problem is that a lot of the times these work against each other. And so what we've learned is using design thinking, we're able to create a moment where we're all working together and aligning and translating timelines and schedules and delivery into outcomes, goals, and jobs to be done from a user perspective. And we're being responsible in understanding that we're learning and achieving the outcome, but we're not losing sight of the requirements, the dates, and the milestones that our clients give us. So that's the gist from design thinking, is that we're really seeing that design thinking really helps us to create that moment where we can collaborate. So what is design thinking? So as we're looking at from a design thinking, it's just a diverge converge way of looking at collaboration, right? Understanding together and as an individual what the user problem is, and being able to deliver what we call a holistic solution. So that means, what does holistic mean? It just means that you're looking at it from a human standpoint, from a user standpoint, from a designer standpoint, and also from a technology standpoint, and then from a business standpoint. So it's bringing all of those core pieces together to look at the problem from the lens of each one of us, right? So from the lens of a creative, from the lens of someone that's focused in the business. They could be in marketing or sales or things like that. So for us, it's the way we navigate through this customer first culture and community and become outcome driven, but then also be more efficient at what we do. It's trying to make it where design thinking is oxygen to what we deliver. So think of that for a second, and then feel free to ask any questions. I do not see my chat, so Matt, if you, or how about we tap like
on it.
someone else? All right, cool.
Yeah, and I'll mute if you have background noise. Most likely me.
So we look at just like really, there's books, there's things that you can learn about design thinking, but ultimately what we're looking at is how do we take advantage of that individual thinking, because that's really key, right? We get a lot of things done when we work individually, but then how do we bring that group thinking together? So as you see with some of the workshops that you probably, if some of you that have had that experience, there's what we call diverge and converge type activities. So diverge is, let's go look at and individually sketch an idea out. Converge is, let's put it in front of the group. Let's vote on it. Let's decide which idea we feel solves our problem, right? So for us, there's some terminology that we use. Some of it sounds familiar, but you look at that from our discovery design sprints and what we call story development. And that's really just how do we look at work? How do we create the work? And then how do we align and move forward as a team? And so some of the benefits that we've seen is it promotes innovation, right? It creates the right amount of innovation. It promotes customer value. It informs decision-making. with, leadership. Maybe they're not familiar, I don't know if you guys get this a lot. They're like, hey, I don't know how to design. I don't know, but like it empowers those people that don't know, or they feel like they don't know, to give feedback and to help move things forward, where we're not saying this is what user experience does, stay away from us, right? Where it's really promoting that collaboration. So we promote that. Not only that, but where a designer can also think like a business owner, or they can think like a CFO or a CMO for that moment, and it just empowers their decision making, and it empowers their ability to solve the problem um, with the right amount of information. But also, we're prioritizing as a team. So a lot of the things, that miscommunication, that what are we doing, it really is just around alignment, and we quickly validate. So we're always coming through that. So what I'd like you to think of as we get into the mural board, for those that have experienced design thinking, maybe there's some other benefits that you've seen. So we're start thinking about, like, what other benefits have you seen from doing some of these design thinking workshops? And then what are some of those key activities as well? So we want to hear from you once we get into the workshop. We'll like to hear from you. What do you guys think is the output from design thinking? And then also some of those activities. For us, some of those activities is just aligning on what the vision and the goal is. Like, why are we here? Like, that's the biggest question. It's like the most basic question. But a lot of the times you'll notice that initiatives are kicked off, millions and millions of dollars are signed off, and nobody knows what the vision and the goal is, right? So that alone, just understanding that, is key, and really sets us apart, and it'll set you apart from a design perspective, from a user experience perspective. But there's a bunch of other activities that we do. Rapid sketching, we're familiar with that. We've done some workshops on that. Prototyping, card sorting, something that we just rinse and repeat, storyboarding, things like that. Any questions or any ideas or anything that comes up, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, I will move on to the next slide. So we look at this and really looking at that individual thinking, that divergent type thinking, and then that convergent type thinking. So these are some of the things that I personally love about design thinking, is that you can have that singular point of view, right? You get that moment to really think through within yourself, right? So naturally, we experience the world as individuals, and we have moments where we experience it as a group, as a team, as an organization, but most of the time we're experiencing the world as individuals. So this is the moment where you can gather yourself as an individual, get your point of view across. You're not influenced by others, and you promotes your ideas, right? We're not saying any idea is bad, and it gets you to a point where you can actually visualize or express those ideas without getting edited, but then also promotes that collaboration across all the different types of personalities out there, right? Me, I'm naturally, believe it or not, like, I don't like talking to people. It doesn't come out naturally. That I left that to my sisters, right? My sisters were big talkers. They were the most, like, popular people at school. Me, everybody knew me, but no one ever spoke to me. So that's where, like, I really see a lot of value, is also it brings out some of the great ideas that maybe the biggest voice or the most influential person, maybe that idea is the best idea, and they're not able to verbalize it, vocalize it, or sell it, right? And then we move quicker on decisions as individuals. We move faster, right? So that's where, like, hey, there's moments where you're just like, I get it. Let's stop talking about it. Let me go do it. So that's what that is, right? So some of the challenges that come with individual thinking is that it's very biased, right? Again, going back to selling your It depends on good communicators to sell good ideas and good influencers to influence others into doing that, right? The feedback loop is longer because now you're having to sell your idea and influence others first at an individual level, right? Now I'm talking to Matt, then I go to Alan, then I go to Richard, and all these, and then I slowly go across. No, that's gonna take a while. And imagine across an organization, how long that would take, right? So that comes with the longer alignment cycle from a team, right? So now talking about group thinking, now we're able to look at this problem with all the expertise that we have, right? With multiple points of views, multiple experiences that we have. We have data and AI experts. You know, I don't need to learn data and AI to solve a data and AI problem. I can adopt their knowledge and then bring my knowledge in. And now we're a powerful team that's looking at this problem together. And then also we're creating alignment, right? We're creating consensus. You can solve a problem many ways. Let's agree on one area to focus our energy on as a team, right? So sometimes you in traditional project, you have a group that comes and they show you their idea, and everybody's nodding. And then what happens the moment they walk away from the meeting? They start having their own meetings and saying, hey, well, they didn't think about that. Did they think about this? Now all of a sudden the momentum is killed, right? So that's another part of it. And the feedback loop is shorter, right? It's shorter once we're communicating and working together. Some of the challenges, organizing the inputs, right? If I asked every one of you to tell me right now, like, what your favorite movie is, it would be noise right now, right? So a lot of the times we're looking at there's a lot of noise sometimes when we ask an entire group to think about a problem. And then also only the most influential voice is heard, right? So the person that speaks the loudest, that speaks better, communicates better, wins. And there's only a few individuals that are contributing. So there's a lot of spectators, as we like to call them, that are just watching others do the work. And then we're organizing various opinions and prioritizing, right? So that's the hardest part, is that there might be varying opinions on how we can approach this. And then also it really creates difficulty in, the whole terminology of herding cats, right? Like, how do we herd cats if we're coming to the group and asking them? So that's where we've seen the differences, and that's where design thinking really creates a moment for us to have the best of the divergent thinking, the individual thinking, and the convergent thinking, the group thinking. And we have methodologies. That's why you see a lot of post-it notes when you're doing design thinking. We're asking, let's talk, there's less talking, more individual writing, then let's review and discuss and work together to work through that, right? So what we've learned is that we can move faster and impact organizations quicker if we use design thinking for almost everything we do. So that is the last slide I will show you. We'll move over to the activity. Any questions before we move over to the activity? Anyone that's had experience with design thinking and would like to share their thoughts?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a story, anecdotal story, possibly of maybe a situation where you're trying to get something done and people weren't working together.
Yeah, I can share something real quick. Recently, we were working with a client in the oil energy industry. The client was Brock. Their challenge was to be able to to manage projects and personnel out in the field while they were doing this installation process on pipes on a plant, petrochemical plant. When the project started, I hadn't started with Neudesic at that time. I think I started like a week or two afterwards, so I missed out on the whole contexting portion of the project. I'm an individual that prefers to be in those scenarios, in those meetings, but I understand that stuff happens, right? And it's just life. Things happen, and not everything goes perfect. So you have to adapt and be fluid with what you're working with. So what I ended up doing is just sitting back a little bit and just listening to what everybody was talking about in those stand-up meetings every morning. I was looking at the resources they had, like spreadsheets, just regular Word docs, PowerPoint presentations, just really doing a deep dive into the content that they already had in place within their operations. That way I could identify patterns within their workflow that can be pulled out and be utilized in this digital interface that we were building for them, which was a web app, essentially. So we finished the app. They were real happy with it, with the wireframing process of it. They enjoyed the low-fi wireframe that came with it. They enjoyed the high mock-up prototype that came with it. It wasn't an interactive prototype. It was just a high mock-up, which was visually appealing with some brand elements, tying it with some of the brand elements that the company already had established. And even before we started the project itself, I made it a point to reach out to the marketing department from their end so that we could align on what they felt, not what they felt, but what they had already established as far as brand guidelines. That way, whenever we presented something to them, it wasn't something completely different. It aligned with what something they were used to seeing. And whenever you leverage things that they're used to seeing or using, it's easier to get a buy-in.
Yeah,
I think that's all I got to say.
I think that's key, right? So I think from a design thinking process, we're helping them, tell us their world, right? That terminology is key because that's part of the communication and alignment. Yeah, awesome.
Definitely.
Did you end up finding any value tidbits coming out of it? Like, what did it solve? Is there like
yeah, so the things that we're looking at to solve are communications is real big. Communication with real-time data also is big. So those were some of the elements that we were trying to, or challenges that we were trying to attack. And we used the web app to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyone else? I know we have some pretty awesome experts in this.
Morgan? What happened?
Who's gonna give us? I'll tell you one experience I just had this afternoon or morning is our technically our client delivery. What is she? Tabita. She was using design thinking to solve what you would see as HR problems, right? Trying to solve issues that you normally would just bullet point and say, oh, let me go work on that. But she was asking the group to come up with ideas on how we can solve some of these issues, which I loved. And there's some great ideas that are coming out of that. And I was like, yep. So I think that just proves that you can apply this to just about anything. Anyone else that's, I mean, if you think about it, you've ever used Post-it notes? you probably did it, right?
I do think I was at that meeting too, but I do think when we go out to say we want to be better design thinkers, everybody goes, oh, okay, the IDX or the UX groups or, they're free thinker type people. They just kind of associate that those two words together, and then they make it a, some kind of assumption that only IDX people in our case, or UX people or CX people are only doing this. And it's probably true because we're trying to practice it. But I think when that was one of those cases where most of the people on that call were not in that design product area, so when I kind of stated last year, at Neudesic, I want everyone in the company to be design thinkers. I want the person that owns Neudesic to be a better design thinker. So if I'm able to instill a lot of these different workshops and different kind of techniques to all of them, they might be able to get their jobs done better, and be more efficient. So that was a perfect example of having somebody that's not necessarily in our group go after it and do it. So I think when people are saying, "Oh, that's not our process. That's not what we do," I think you could show them that it could be their process.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got one. Yeah. So I've been part of a app consolidation effort where I'm working, and essentially the idea was they just wanted to, let's just bring everything together. And so what we did was a design thinking workshop and worked through some activities. And when we got to kind of the solutioning area, what we found, well, we did some how might we's, but once we dove deeper, we found that really a lot of the problem was they needed some sort of sign up process or login process that was kind of like one login for all, essentially, because all their products were separated. They're all over the place. So it was really hard to get adoption, because that's one of the number one issues that they were having. Like, how do we get people to pick up our app and really use it in the business and move forward with it, and adopt it. And it was interesting because we uncovered some insights out of that journey, I'd say, that I don't think anyone really expected, because there was like this one goal, right, that the stakeholders had this expectation, or even the PO, I should say. But when we really talked to the stakeholders involved, we uncovered these other opportunities for, like what you're saying, like almost creating work for yourself. So we're driving almost this other project entirely, which is on top of the app consolidation, which is a unified sign-in process. So yeah, it was really insightful and definitely helpful to do workshops and design thinking in general, just different activities. Even just getting people in a room for 10 minutes and have them put their ideas on one single problem on sticky notes and just put them all on a wall, don't even talk, just put them on the wall, and then just have everyone, talk about it at the end. Yeah, you gain some value from that for sure.
That's cool. So that was alignment and realignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that usually would take 3 weeks or 4 weeks for it to go up the chain, come back down, and you've already started, and they're like, no, we're already started.
4 hours.
Yeah. 4 hours.
That's all I had. Super lean.
All right.
Yep.
Anyone else that wants to add? I mean, I love hearing these stories. Otherwise, we can move into the workshop. Maybe a raise of hands. How many? My dog's contributing. How many of you? Yeah, he's had a lot of design thinking workshops with me. Tons of them. Like, how many of you have done a workshop? I'm gonna say almost everybody, but let's see a raise of hands. Awesome. All right, well then let's get right to it. Let's get to the thing that we want to identify, because what we're trying to do is identify some activities, some things that you've done from a design thinking workshop perspective, and then some of the value you've seen from it. So then that we can then inform our basically our agenda for the rest of the year of UX and AZ, right? So let me pull up.
Yeah, what I'm hoping to do with this is that we can focus in on things that that matter to a bulk of the people here. Not to disclude the people that don't want to do it, but I'm trying to. I guess at the end of the day, my problem statement is to get everybody aligned and hireable. With processes that you can, give to your company, or processes that you can give to my company or somebody else's company, to GoDaddy, to wherever, Keep. So like there's a bunch of these people out there that are looking for design thinkers, and I think having these processes under your belt, having a confidence that, to go into an interview and say, I have a process, I learned it from UX and AZ. I learned it from a lot of people. So, and here's what I do to solve problems. That's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that, you make a good wireframe. In all honesty, that's a very minimal amount of things. That's not much value to me anyway. I mean, I know you can use a tool. Great. You got it down, but how you solve problems in the processes that you take to do that is really the thing that really, I think, matters. So hopefully we can get everybody to that point this year, and it'll be really easy to go find jobs.
Man, we got quite a bit of people on this mural board. Do you, all right, so let's go ahead. It sounds like, man, all right. Do you, Matt, should I share my screen on the mural board? Probably.
Yeah, so that gets recorded, probably. That would be nice. Sorry.
Yeah, hold on. Let me make sure my tabs aren't recorded. All right, can you guys see that? See my screen?
It's not up yet.
Oh,
There it goes.
there we go. All right, cool. All right, so the first thing I'd like to do, maybe we start with some activities, like what design thinking activities have you done? And then we'll create a timer here. Maybe I'll give, what do you think, 5 minutes is good enough? Let's see. Can't see.
You can, if you're not familiar.
Is the link to the board in chat?
Yes, you may have joined after. Let me.
I did.
How dare you? I'll give you another link.
I
One
know.
second.
Hey, Danny, can you turn off people's names maybe?
I'm sorry?
On the Miro board, if you, next to the announcement icon, kind of top center, there's a cursor icon with a couple lines. If you click on that, it turns off everyone's names.
Oh, you got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's the Miro board link again.
Andy, is this activities, processes, or any of those?
So any design thinking activities, like, and it could be a process, right? So something like a design sprint, right? That's a process. But even just an activity, Crazy 8, sketching, right? That's an activity.
What's it called when you draw the cross graph and then like one thing is up in the corner and one thing's in the lower corner? What is that called? And then you put dots.
Matrix.
Matrix. Okay, thank you.
Like a quadrant?
Yeah, quadrant graph, or yeah.
Yeah.
You can. There's many things you can do that.
Sometimes known as a biaxial map.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
That's the highfalutin version.
Yeah,
I like that. Put that in there. 'Cause
like branded version. I don't know if we can say that legally.
I mean, that's the other part of this is now we've all gained James' knowledge on what a quadrant is.
I wish I didn't.
I'll send you a bill.
I mean, that's the key to this. Like, if James was my client and I knew he called it a biaxial map, I would use that from this point forward. Never call it a quadrant.
I
Yeah.
added a trademark mark on the biaxial map, so we're good. Can't get in trouble. Rights
Thank you.
reserved.
I learned a new term today. It's called distro factoring. And I looked it up and it's totally made up, but it's like distribution plus manufacturing. So anything was manufactured, now they're a distributor. So I was like trying to look it up and my friend was like, it's not a term that's out in the world. I'm like, oh.
I'm telling you, like, we need to start dropping like terminology and see if anybody catches us.
Yeah. I bought the domain, so you can't have it anymore. He'll have to pay me for it.
Ooh, mission statements.
This is great.
Yeah, I never even started the timer. Let's give it.
Oh, you know you got to push the pick music button.
Oh,
I've got Queen playing in the background at this place I'm at.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting question. I see usability testing on here. Would usability testing be a group exercise where you have people without research backgrounds actually facilitating research? Or are they just participating by observing?
that is a interesting question, actually.
Because I will be transparent. I wouldn't want someone who's inexperienced facilitating user research, because you can run into the scenario where they create a bias with the participant, and then you end up having to throw away that participant's data.
It could. Maybe we need to ask whoever put that, but I would, as a design thinking, it'd probably be more observation, and then bringing your notes together to then decide what you thought was important, right? So it's individual, right? The individual is observing the user interview or the user. Yeah.
It would be the act of one person doing that observation, and that's it. That wouldn't be design thinking in my.
No.
Yeah, I think that brings up a point that was like, we hear a lot of these words and methods that we do in our professional daily lives, and we don't know which ones are usability methods and research methods and design thinking methods. And so how do we categorize these so we know when to use which one?
Yeah. So like in design thinking, it just means divergent, convergent thinking, right? Any activity can live inside of design thinking, but it's the way you bring the information and you're informed by it. So if we were to say that we were all going to observe as a community a user test, and then bring all our notes together and then vote and decide what's the insights off of everything that we observed, right? That would be design thinking.
It's the most important word in that slide that I'd have to go back to, but what is that collaboration part?
Yeah, it's a collaboration. It's bringing in, the technologists, the people that are involved in the problem to observe the usability test, right?
Observe and take notes and share your learnings.
Yep, exactly. And align. Because that's the number one thing of design thinking is it aligns us, right? Right. So as a financial advisor, I might be telling you not to spend the money, but then as we see an opportunity and we're saying, well, if you don't spend the money, then you're going to lose out on a big opportunity. Then the risk of losing money is less of a priority as a group. And so now my financial advisor understands that I understand that I am willing to take that risk. So now you need to look at this, right? So that's the whole idea of design thinking, is it creates alignment, prioritizes, and moves us forward.
I think it's important to segment that, though. It's alignment on the problems to solve. So then you can have the proper creative thought process
Yeah,
to then eventually align on the ideal solution.
I love it. All right. I think we got enough. I think we're going to do the toughest part of design thinking, which is to affinity map.
Yep.
So this is called affinity mapping. Devil's advocate. Who wants to? I've never heard of devil's advocate.
Is that like black hat? Kind of.
Yeah, you just think of reasons why somebody's idea won't work, or
Okay.
try to poke holes in it, try to
Awesome.
make it fail to make it stronger.
We got joint design sessions. Lean UX assumption prioritization matrix. So that's awesome. Let's see. I'm gonna grow this over and make it bigger if I can to the left. How do I do that? Without making it completely whatever. Let's just go.
Yeah.
I think I need to change the aspect ratio up here to be custom. Where's
Yeah.
custom? There it is. Okay. All right. So we got devil's advocate. We got joint design, co-design. I love that. I love, we have lean UX assumption / prioritization. We have design sprints, user flow and task flow. Let me know when you guys see something that aligns. And if you feel free, I love Annika. She's amazing helping me out. User interviews. We'll keep that there. Rapid prototyping. Could we call that part of the joint design sessions, or are we keeping it on its separate? What do you guys think?
Joint.
Heuristics. Oh, a heuristics evaluation. That'll be fun if we could create it. Like someone's done that through design thinking. I love it. Paper prototyping, rapid joint design sessions, proto personas. I love that. Start making.
I haven't heard that one. What's proto personas?
Who wrote that? I'm not going to answer that, but maybe somebody else can answer it for us.
I did. It's basically it's creating a persona based on your assumptions. So you haven't validated it based on actual users. You're creating a fake persona that you think could represent the user, and then you go validate it with real information. It's used in Lean UX.
Yeah, I was introduced to Lean UX.
Impact effort matrix. I feel like that should be underneath prioritization, which I just saw over here. Where is that bad boy?
What's Crazy 8?
It's a participatory design session where you fold your paper into 8 squares, and you have 1 minute per.
I got it. Thanks, Matt. Okay. It's like that old old game. Who loves who? I got it.
Ooh, a Moscow chart. I'm gonna put that in the prioritization. So as we're doing this, and then everybody, if you feel free to come in, just pull in, you know, kind of figure out if you can help us as a group start moving these into areas that you feel either apply to it. If it aligns, if it doesn't, create a new column, and we'll just keep walking through this.
What's a sailboat?
That's a retro type activity. I think, is it Ted or Cody? Cody, are you my sailboat?
I hope
I've done a sailboat for a retro.
Nice.
It's really good for like a project end reflection.
That's cool. Ooh, a SWAT team analysis. Not the SWAT team analysis, but a SWAT team analysis. Okay. Somebody, did you mean SOW,
Hey.
SWOT, or did you mean really there's a SWAT team analysis? Because there's the SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Colleen, are you trying to talk? I think you're muted.
Now I'm making nonsense noises to my dog.
Oh, okay.
It looked like you were saying SWAT, SWAT over and over.
All right. So I'm guessing this is like a SWOT analysis.
I have tried to coach my dogs to swat flies.
Ooh, value stream mapping. I like that. Let's see. All right, over here we got black hat, 6 hats. Like, what should we categorize this bad boy over here? Can we call it explore? I don't know.
It doesn't, to me, it's the ideas have already been developed, or it's the antithesis of the idea. So you have the synthesis and the antithesis. Sorry, I can't talk.
So we have like where it's focused, right? Is that what you're trying to say? Is like it's a focused.
It's focused, but it's focused on things that they've already deemed as good. But it sounds that it's they're trying to.
They're questioning.
Yeah, they're questioning it.
It's like idea stress testing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There you go.
I'm gonna move my tarot cards under there too.
Yes, please do so. I love that tarot card thing. Like,
I don't want to do that. I'm superstitious with that stuff. I don't want to know.
but are you guys good if I call this design collab? I don't even know this column. Lightning jams, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
You think design's kind of vague? It's getting into like lower fidelity to drive some higher fidelity stuff.
Some of it's ideation, I would think.
Yeah.
Collaboration session.
Like that ideation.
Yeah.
I like ideation.
Crazy Eights, all the sketching. I called it idea sketching, or you guys just want to call it sketching?
Ideation too. You might as well throw it all over there. But I mean, that's participatory design sessions or participatory workshops, design workshops.
Participatory.
Wow, we got through that. That's awesome.
Okay, so this is where we are creating alignment as a team. So I heard that this column and this column are very similar. Do we combine them or do we keep them separate?
In my experience, and it might be different for other people, the ideation column you have there, it's kind of like telling a storyboard of what we think the solution could be.
Yeah.
And then when you get into crazy eights and the sketching, it's a little bit higher fidelity, but it's not high fidelity mockups, right?
Okay.
It's something in between.
My question is, what's the outcome of these categories going to be? Like, if it's like, oh, this is what we should do our March session on, would it make sense to combine them or not?
Yeah.
So is that what the outcome is? Is this our plan for the year?
I think so. I think that's our goal. At least that's mine. What do you think, Matt?
Yep. Sorry. Let me go get water. I can barely.
Even though we didn't go through our goal and risk, but I would say that that's what our goal is. Out of this, we want to identify what's our agenda and who knows it and who's going to help us develop, either teach it or develop a design thinking approach to it.
So I think that could guide when we decide to merge categories or not.
Yep. So let's keep it separate is what I'm hearing.
Let's keep it separate for now.
Okay. Design sprints, discovery, business goals, identifying problem or solution focus.
Those are almost all of the components of a Google design sprint. Like if you look at all those things together.
Yeah.
And so the Google design sprint is kind of a defined piece of work that you can do in its entirety in a 5-day time frame if you want to go by the book, or you can break out elements of that and do them on their own or do portions of them.
Yep. So where should we put design sprint?
I see it's under discovery there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's its own kind of thing, but it's often done at a time where you're trying to basically break out of either existing ideas or begin a new idea. So I can see why it's in the discovery area.
It's like a container for a bunch of these columns.
Yeah, I agree. It probably doesn't belong in the discovery, or do we change the column?
Do we just call the column design sprint?
Yeah.
Because that could be a session in and of itself.
Okay, let's do that. Identifying problem, vision finding, breakdown KPI.
I think time boxing your design activities is very different than doing discovery type activities. Because discovery activities are usually sourced around your population or trying to identify your population or your user base, trying to rally on the problems to solve. Whereas the design sprint is about trying to get it fit into a time box that could be driven by business, it could be driven by the client engagement.
So let me see, I'm just trying to make sure I'm catching what you're throwing. So you feel like we probably need to change this column, or are we just supporting what the team just had? Like, is there anything you want me to move around? Do you agree with the grouping?
So it was just a comment that I threw out to kind of hear some other opinions.
Got it. Cool. Awesome.
I mean, you're usually breaking it down to feature levels in this design sprint. Taking the epic and breaking it down.
Yeah.
What do you think? I just kind of put it as a proposal, that kind of a top level experience mapping of which there's different types of things we do to whether it's the empathy map and just kind of looking at the individual as a beginning point, or the actual journey map, or there's some other things like this flow mapping is a little different from like a user flow. It's a specific look at a piece of the experience that has a template for it. You could also put things like, potentially like, service design maps and things like that in there as well.
Oh, yes. I like that. I mean, could we put, customer life cycle in here?
I was just gonna do that.
Okay, hit it up.
What about workflow?
Yep, I like that. Let's put that in there. Yep, we got journey maps. Okay, that's cool. We got 3 journey maps. I like that.
Yeah, you can probably dedupe.
I was thinking value stream mapping would be more in flow diagram. Don't you think?
Yeah, let's do that.
It doesn't really have an experience.
Do you guys, I'm curious, like we actually make that separation at GoDaddy. We talk about journeys and flows at being at different altitudes. Do other people make that distinction?
Yeah, and we also talk about it the right level of detail, right? So if I can't do a journey map, I'm at the very least going to do a user flow
Or a product flow.
or a product, like values. Like for us is like the value stream map adds like a different access and a different view versus a life cycle map.
What did you do at Sunstate, that other kind of map, more illustration map? What did you call that?
To me, it's a problem diagram. Like it's more of like visualizing the problem. It could be considered an infographic too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the one from Oldsplat for rapid contextual design, where you have like environmental factors in the relationship map?
Oh.
I don't know. I
I'll have
couldn't
to go
hear.
look it up.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but
It's like environmental factors that could influence the end user. Like think about interrupted workflows. I get an instant message or I get a phone call.
I wonder if that's included in like a UX lean canvas or something.
It's part of the contextual inquiry, but it's a specific diagram. I'll have to go look it up.
I'm gonna put it in here. We're gonna do some research on this. Whatever that means, but it sounds like super interesting.
Yeah. Where would you put a business canvas exercise?
I mean, that I like there. I hear like you could.
Ideation.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, yeah, actually, what we're missing is a strategy bucket. There's a potential to pull some of these things out and kind of talk about activities that are more about the design strategy.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And that's where like I feel like discover business goals. Like the word discover makes me like want to say that you're defining that. And then there's something like a mission statement. Yeah, let's see. I almost want to say like I would even move value stream mapping into that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We have two of them. I'll delete one.
I mean, that the strategy is also like these idea stress tests. Like, I mean, that could define strategy. I don't know. Maybe let's keep it idea stress test. What's the definition of adding things to strategy? If we're going to move something out of something, what's the definition of that being moved?
Something to give you direction.
Awesome.
The kind of architectural type level decisions along with the business focus.
Would the SWOT analysis go in there too?
Yeah.
Where's that? Oh, there it is.
All right. I feel like we have at least a blurry picture of what 2022 is going to look like. We can always move things around, change things around, but I feel like the buckets feel good. What is it? How does everybody feel about that?
I think we can revisit combining the ideation and the sketching one, because the sketching one looks like it just got turned into participatory design. More overlap now.
I mean, it is co-design, it is joint design. It's got all of that in it.
Yeah.
So are we moving it to ideation, or are we moving ideation to participatory design workshops? That's hard. That's a long.
Well, are they reciprocal? I mean, I can see where some of these can be ideation, but are these ideation all participatory design? Or do we really have a separation there?
I think we could keep them separate, but it looks like some of the sub stickies that need to get moved.
Yeah, I think so too.
And this brain sketching is the same thing.
Like the 10 by 10 method. I mean, I guess I'm not. Help me out, Annika.
Okay.
I need a lifeline.
Yeah. Well, the one that was Crazy Eights and sketching used to be called sketching. And now it's called participatory design. But then we have co-design underneath ideation and joint design sessions.
Yeah.
So maybe just those stickies need to get moved under participatory design. But I also think sketching isn't always participatory. You can do that or divergent, and then I suppose it's convergent when you do it design thinking.
I think the reason why we made this separate is because this is, you could do ideation here. It's not necessarily you're sketching or you're not starting to like, it's almost like a very low fidelity wire when you're getting into the Crazy Eights, and it's like wire framing and storyboarding, right?
Yeah, so maybe just the bucket title isn't correct.
Yeah. And 10 by 10 method, who put that in there? I don't think I've ever used the 10 by 10.
That is just an extra fold on Crazy Eights?
No,
Yeah.
no. I did that. It's so you state the design challenge, and then it's kind of like Crazy Eights, but you generate 10 instead, and then you pick one of those, and just, I guess it's like the 8 by 8. We did 10 by 10 where you fold it into 10 squares, and then so just two more.
I love that. And so like now we're aligning on terminology, and the fact that there's a 10 by 10, I just learned that right now.
Yeah, also collaborative sketching where one person draws, like starts the drawing, and then you pass it to the next person.
That's brain sketching stuff that I've done in the past. Works out pretty well.
I love it. Anybody, any Photoshop tennis players here?
What?
You guys never did Photoshop tennis? Probably like it's old school, I guess.
I don't think I've ever done it.
Basically, you have 5 minutes to put a Photoshop file together. Then you send it to your opponent. They modify it, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then it gets judged at the end. But you go through 6 rounds, and each round there's a snapshot of what you return back to the opponent.
I want to do that.
It's like Photoshop game of telephone.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of dissing and a lot of like, damn, can't believe we did that. All right. Cool. So our next step is to start voting.
Hey, Danny, if you go to the right more, there's a couple that are still floating loose.
Oh, nice. Annika's got my back. All you guys are just laughing at me.
Yeah.
Design offsites. Is that?
I interpret that as like the department offsites, like planning your organization or your tools or doing some things that are internal to design thinking around that team. But who wrote that? Like, what was your intention on that? Because I'm not sure if I understood it.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote it either, but I thought of it first as like a contextual inquiry, and then I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a field trip. Like, let's take the design team to a museum to get ideas.
Ooh.
So I don't know what the original person meant.
How to get the boss to pay for vacation days.
Oh, perfect. I like that.
Oh, I thought it was a way to get liquor involved in the design sessions without being at the office.
Those are all how might we's.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put a smiley face on it. If I can find it. There we go. So it makes us happy. And then we got one more. Pivot or preserve. Ooh, is that a prioritization method? Is that?
I think they meant persevere, pivot or persevere.
Oh, persevere. What does that mean? Man, just keep going or change, right?
Well, that sounds like lean startup.
Is it?
Yeah, I wrote that one, and that's where it came from.
Is that the idea stress test?
No, it's more of you've already established some type of minimal viable product. You've already intaken some data that's coming from it, and you're trying to figure out whether the changes that were made are worth going forward with, or is it time to pivot and try something new?
Would that go under the strategy section then?
It sounds like actually stress test isn't a bad place because that's about kind of challenging an existing idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a retrospective section as well?
Oh, retro methods. Yeah, there's that over there.
Fair. So do we move this sailboat to stress test, idea stress test, or do we move? Yeah, go ahead. I do that a lot. I talked over someone, so please.
I had originally put it under research methods, but I feel like it can go into retro methods or the stress test.
Thoughts?
Let's put it in one because category of one.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the idea of it being in research because you're making the decision based on data and it's not an emotional decision.
Okay.
Is it pros and pre kind of decisions? The retro to me is after it's done.
That's the thing with lean methodologies. You don't do as much research up front. You're doing your research at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slightly different context.
All right, we got to vote for research methods. We got to vote for idea stress test, and then we have a vote for retro.
I think it needs its own column because it's making decisions based off of data, which is something that most stakeholders don't like doing.
Everybody agree with that?
I would probably do it under strategy direction then.
I'm laughing and I muted myself. That's what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
I don't think it has to be tied to data. It could also be tied to other hypotheses that are being made from research or field observations. So it just depends. It just depends on the project itself and what the topic is.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. I think, and I don't know if that means you think it's more strategic, but I do, because it's also a way of, so it's a subcomponent of design thinking, right? It's a way of remaining aware of the direction of your product or service, right? Is it still going the way we think it is? If not, should we do something about it, or should we wait and see?
Then it's strategy and direction, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a direction, there's waiting for the right direction. We're
All
going
right.
to go in the other direction or go in this direction.
Right.
We made a decision today. We will continue the debate throughout the year. Cool. So let's go over we've got some prioritization methods, some strategy and direction methods, idea stress tests, ideation methods, design methods, design sprint, flow and diagramming research methods, experience mapping, evaluation methods, and persona creation, retros, and development.
How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, we almost have 12 months in a year, one for each one.
Yeah, but we only need 9 because this is 1 month, and then we have November's World Usability Day and December's UXmas party.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What's
We'll do 2 a month.
why don't we vote first, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, why don't we let Danny finish his thing?
Yeah, voting.
Because we could decide that we don't really care about retros because we get everything right, and we don't need to look back.
That's true.
We only look forward. And don't you dare call it a post-mortem. Okay, so Miro has should we try to use Miro's voting system?
I would love to do that because we never meet, and let's try it.
And where is it?
It's down here. I can turn it on, I think, for you if you want. It looks like it can do 3 votes, 4 votes per session, 2 minutes.
Yep.
You want to limit it?
Yeah, this is good because I never limited these votes. So
let's do 9 votes. That'd be 9.
No, let's just do. I like limiting to like 4. Just to speed it up. What do you think?
All right.
And are we just voting at the column level?
Yeah, let's do column though, because I think we can maybe handle a lot of it within that column, right? In one session.
All right. Show us how to vote.
Okay, so then there's a thing called, or has an option for 1 vote per object. So that means you can't load it up with 4.
Okay, I like that. I like that idea. Yeah.
Then selected objects only, and I can actually select the ones that we want you to do. So do you want me to try to do that?
Yeah.
Only the top ones, right?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. All right. And I'll do design offsites.
We're all learning together.
Okay. 14 objects selected and 2 minutes. Good. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ready?
Does everybody know how to vote? Or is it going to be very obvious?
I'm assuming it's going to be obvious when I press this. All right. If not, we'll start over. All right. Yep.
Yeah. Right, so
Oh yeah, that's cool. They
This
give
is
you-
cool.
Yeah, this is a new enhancement to this feature. This wasn't as cool as it was. No.
don't you guys dare copy my test, okay?
You can't. That's the nice thing. You can't see.
I'm sharing my screen, ain't I?
Oh, yeah. I guess I'm looking at my screen.
Quit leading the user.
Darn it.
30 seconds.
It says I have no more votes. It's a lot cleaner than creating dots, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And it'll put in a list for you.
What?
Who doesn't like lists?
Loveless.
I like how it brought in all day people.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool. Top 3.
Top 3.
See all results.
So the first subject is going to be experience mapping.
I agree with that. It's pretty important.
Actually, I would almost like to suggest, do we want to take the topics in order of a traditional design thinking session? So they're building off of each other throughout the year.
It'd be interesting. Won't have the same participants, but
What are we going to solve? We should have, first of all, like let's identify what we're going to solve. Maybe it's all part of something. I love that. What if we have a real problem to solve?
actually apply to the world. That'd be
Ooh.
kind of nice. Instead of just theoretical, but something that actually we can give to somebody.
Yeah.
Or maybe even have a local company that, you know, we go find some problem statements and we want to apply our work to that, you know, or whatever.
Nonprofits are great to start with.
For nonprofits. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, with 3 years left, we might be able to solve the voting problem.
It's right here.
I don't even, yeah, we have it, right? Just do Miro. Everybody votes through Miro. No, let's keep the politics out of it. Let's, I don't know, some like sick kids or something we can help. Nobody doesn't like sick kids, right?
I mean, it does. I mean, we have
As long
to
as they're not throwing up on you.
Yeah. That happened 3,000 or 4,000 times. It's awesome.
I'm knitting hats for kids with cancer right now.
Oh, cool. Like needlepoint, or I mean,
Like knitting, like knitting.
But my wife, one of those as a joke, because she was like, I want to learn how to knit. And I'm like, I got her this like starter kit thing. And we're looking at it. We're looking at the directions. I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do with this.
Yeah, it's like a couple sticks and a piece of string, go. And you're like, what?
That was just drumming with the sticks.
It's a great activity for just like de-stressing once you figure it out. Before you figure it out, it's nothing but stress. But then once you figure it out, it's a lot of de-stressing.
She's not gonna do it. So I told her I'll give you a month and then I'm gonna try it. So I'll take your present. All right. I mean, we move, I guess.
There's some, I think out of this, I think we have some action items, right?
Yeah.
So I like the idea of running it through the whole, like, I would, because strategy and direction got the most votes, which is awesome. So that kind of aligns with it.
That would be a nice first one to do.
We've got a lot of people here. We could, now here's an interesting idea. We could separate it by, like, maybe we solve multiple problems, but we just run through the activities together.
I like that because then we can learn from each other as well and see it applied to more than one thing.
Yeah. And then here's the other crazy idea, because there's some that do the same thing. I almost would love to see the difference when one team does one versus the other. And I guess that we need to find some of those. I don't think we have that many. Nix that idea.
Are you looking for people who can like contribute to the process of designing the sessions? Because if that's what you're looking for, it might be a good idea to do another check against who has experience in these areas.
Ooh, yes.
As opposed to who, like, what do you want to learn? What do you already know?
Right. And then you should contribute that knowledge to the rest of the people.
I love that. How do we do that, Matt? Can we just go in here and add your name to these tags, or what do you?
You can just say, hey, who has extensive knowledge on that's going to be,
yeah,
who wants to throw their name into the hat.
Yeah, let's do that.
You can convert the top row into cards, and then you can start adding notes or assign it to people.
Oh,
we could just put comments in there,
style.
their name, right? Put a comment on a sticky with someone's name.
You can add a tag as well. Say like, right, and you can.
I think, yeah, tags looks pretty fast.
Oh, it didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. Why didn't it work?
How about? Well, we know that strategy, direction. We need to start at strategy and direction, right?
There's a lot in that category. Is that all going to fit in one?
I mean, we may have to cut that up.
That's the thing, like you're talking about, you could do, one per month and you got your categories, but actually you could take the top 3 and spend a year on them. You could break them out in a few sessions and go wild.
But I think what would be the best beneficial for people that are trying to show off at their work, and the guy got a process, and some people that, hey, I know what to do to help you guys. Like you can go pretty extensive in some of these things, but what would be the biggest bang for the buck of activities? Are we always doing UX lean canvas workshops? Or are we going to do a problem statement workshop? Which ones are we doing? I mean, I know what I do. I don't want to dictate that, but we could go with the process of which we do, and then we can align and add things. But there is a starting point to everything. Like you get called up, they have a problem, they have a perceived hypothesis or a problem, right? They come to you and say, I think I need a mobile app, Matt. What are you going to do? And then we go into the process of understanding what's your problem, what are your goals, what is your, what does success look like? What's your pain points? Things like that, that kind of activity that kind of kicks it off into where I would go with it after that. And obviously there's discovery things and then taking those problem statements and epics and breaking it down into things I can maybe run design sprints on.
Yeah.
So it's like we can apply that to that structure of how we do it, but I don't want to dictate how we all do it. You know, I just have the thing we do.
Yeah.
Um,
These sessions are, we got like 2 hours, right?
yeah.
And these sessions, like some of these we could just do, you know, like for example, mission statements. Like how long, like how long of an activity is a mission statement? If anybody,
It's pretty short.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 15, 20 minutes max.
So if we just create, like if we take,
Depends if you have people from marketing and sales in there. Yuck, 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 yuck. Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah. But if we're doing the design thinking, then they can yuck on their own, and then we'll just, you know. So if we create a design thinking, and if there already is one, a design thinking workshop for a mission statement, we could potentially run through it in a matter of half an hour.
Yeah.
Then we move into the next step, which is maybe the business canvas, or, you know, maybe there's a sequence here, and the person that has the most knowledge is the one that drives, I don't know, some thoughts.
Yeah, let's start figuring out who's got an expertise in what area and who wants to
Yeah.
run a session, and then they can decide what to put in that month.
Yep. And I'm wondering, should we look at just isolated on the next 3
Yeah. These,
UX and AZs, right?
yeah, like let's use the top votes as our guide, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, for the most things that people wanted to know about.
So we got 2 14s. We got strategy, direction, and experience mapping.
Well, strategy sounds like it's a first thing, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with that.
How do we get direction?
Yeah.
You know, essentially what's the theme? You know, it's how do we know where to go, you know, before we know where to go?
So
Awesome.
we can take an approach with similar to the agile process, where there's a session and there's an opportunity to ask questions, usually the W's, right? So that we can start identifying what the issues are, what are the challenges, what's working for them, what's what needs to be rethought, what's in place, and things like that.
Yeah.
So doing a discovery session, then maybe doing some exploration with loose wireframes on big Post-its of some sort, or if it's going to be digital, doing it on Miro maybe.
Yeah.
Some loose thoughts right there.
I like it.
I would hate to get into design for, I mean, to stick with 4D process. I would love to show that you don't have to jump right into lean design,
Yeah.
you know, right away. If you want to go lean, then yeah, you're going to do that. But, you know, if we're going to do discovery and define, you know,
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I would, yeah. So that would be super interesting if we do the lean approach and then we do the methodical approach over the year. And it'd be interesting to see what our ideas look like. Was the ROI, like, did we get it right the first time, or did it really add value through going through these activities?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sounds super cool to me. So maybe there could be like a lean track, and then there's the full on, you know, strategy track. So here's what I'd like to do. If you guys are good with it, I'm gonna move these around based on how they got voted on, right? So, but I'm just gonna isolate the 3 that we want to work on next, right? So I'm just starting with experience mapping. I'm not saying that's the first one, but let's see if I can grab it. I'm going to move it over here. Then I'm looking at, oh, thanks.
It's weird that voting went away.
And then we got the design methods, crazy 8. Now that's not in order, right? So do we say that design sprint is the next one after experience? Like what's the, of the top voters, vote getters, like which one do we move next?
I'm sorry, I missed kind of, are we gonna collaborate on one problem to solve or a couple different problems to solve, then take them through the different methods? So then that way there's actual tangible experience working through an actual problem that we all agree on, or is it up to the person presenting to choose the domain that we're talking about as we go through the content?
That's the question, right? So I'm excited about one single problem. I like that idea. Or there could be everybody has their own problem that we move forward. You move your problem forward, and if you're presenting, then we work on your problem. I don't know.
I mean, if it's too long, we forget about what happened in the beginning. It'd be kind of nice to have quarterly sessions, maybe, you know, like we have a problem in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, you know, that allows people to be engaged a little, you know, what if you get all the way to the end in December or in October and nobody, and you can't go, right? Like something that we can handle in a few. And I'm totally down with making more UX and E. It doesn't have to be 1 week, you know, one day a month. You know, we can do it as much as we can. If you want to create teams and work together, we have the Slack channels that you can create your teams and work through these things. You know, however you want.
You can also bring the people you want to solve the problem with.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a team that goes off and does lean, and a team that comes up and does it more methodically too, and then bring it to the next session and talk about it. You know,
Yeah,
what to do.
the lean team would be done faster. We know that.
Yeah, well, true.
So
let's put up the proposals and vote on it as everyone. I think there's just like 4 of us talking right now.
Yep, totally agree.
I don't know if I guess I can set up. Yeah, I can set up new sessions and save the old one.
Maybe we can use our strategy direction session next time to figure out our strategy and direction.
There you go. I like that. That's it. Done.
Yes, because sometimes we're totally guilty of our own moderation rules.
Yeah. So
to build on what Annika mentioned, can we use the next UXNAZ as a strategy direction session to do a problem forming workshop and select a problem to then use the rest of our methods to solve?
That'd be great.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, and then we could either select one or multiple from that point, depending on how we feel then.
And we'll use the prioritization matrix.
Yes.
And maybe from there we can decide if we want to, you know, diverge into people that really want to learn it, you know, or just want to observe it, right? Like, you know, if we go and diverge with a team and go out and do this work, you know, on our own together, and then come back and we can share it, you know, we can teach people what we did, or at least tell them what we did. And this is the output of what we did. Maybe next time they would want to be involved in a team or get their own team together, possibly. Just like you would in the real world, you know, pod up with some people.
All right. So I think we start with, in my opinion, we start with some kind of prioritization.
Mm-hmm.
To select what problem or problems we're going to solve. Who wants to volunteer for that?
Don't we have to come up with the problems before we can prioritize them?
No, because we can come in and just say, what problems do you guys think? Boom, put them on the board, and then we prioritize them and vote.
Okay.
It's actually like I have it's a very simple method, but I'm just curious if there's a better method out there. That's how I do. You know, if I'm walking into something I don't know, that's the first thing I do is tell me all your problems. What keeps you up at night?
I do
So
this.
do y'all use volunteer match if you're people who like to volunteer?
Never heard of that.
Volunteermatch.org. It's a great website to connect with people with organizations that need help. And you can kind of search based on your skill areas. So you could say like, well, I am like a UX designer or something, or I do web development or something. And then from that, you can find, so like in this case, I'm going to computer and IT. And then from there, you can go to internet research, find the right thing. But like basically, like you can look at what the companies are looking for, and search based on those things. So if we're looking to help someone with something, that might be a good way to search for problems to solve.
Love it.
That'd be cool. So we can look at that when we go and throw some problems up there.
Yeah, maybe that's our homework, right?
Yeah.
It's think of a problem you'd
Yep.
love to solve,
And then we'll vote on it.
and then we'll bring them to the table and vote on them.
I'm just putting a Kanban board at the top. And maybe we can kind of organize what we're going to do in February, maybe March, maybe April. So then we can fill it out as we go, possibly.
You can add the homework as a thing to bring with you when you attend the February UX and AC, so people could come loaded with their problems, and then we could jump in.
Yeah.
My keyboard's like failing. I got to get a new one. I don't know if it's like like junk in it or something.
You know, one in the strategy, do we have hypothesis development in any way? Okay.
Wouldn't maybe problem statement development be in here? Nice little.
Yeah, like I think more of like for me it would be the hypothesis, right?
Good.
Then, you know, as we then observe, it becomes a problem statement. Unless we already have observation, we could try either or. Any thoughts?
I have a question. I'm new to all of this because I'm a student and in UX. And this lady I work out with is starting a company. It's called the Light Brush, and it's going to be like a dog, like a pet toothbrush, but it's with blue light. And she was hoping I could help her like kind of put together a website. And I was telling her like all about, well, we need a survey for you, and like, you know, who's going to buy this. And so she's all like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So that's a real problem that I guess I am going to help her with, but I don't even know where to get started. So I don't know what I'm even trying to ask. Could that be, did you guys want a real problem like that, or kind of, or do you want to?
I think we do, like that would be good, right? So
Yeah,
then we decide as a team, you know, do we want to work on one problem, or can we work on multiple problems? Can
I think
we?
the team sizes will get a little rough when you got everybody doing the one attacking one. You know, if we are able to pot up
Yeah.
and that, you know, that same common situation where I'd love to help that situation, and you get those people working on that situation,
Yeah.
and some other people work on different situation, right?
Yep.
I think that would work out if we got to the part where we said, here's the problems that we all kind of like. Here's the problems I'm going to help out with. There's problems you're going to help out with. And we go through the problem or those problems the same, but they're different problems. Or maybe we don't do it the same. Maybe you have to do a different activity and you're going to tell us, like, when you guys diverge and you start doing those activities. I think having, you know, where it gets sticky is when you got a bunch of people that don't know what to do, you know? So that's where we need to talk about what you're going to do, you know, when you go out there in the world. And that would be the learning part of it.
Yep.
So February 3, let's just make sure we got the activities that we want to teach or what we want to do and teach at the same time. Prioritize problems, hypothesis workshop. Is that before I guess just
Well,
bring.
first we need to decide how we're going to approach this, right?
Yeah.
Well, we need to decide and volunteer.
Anybody want to volunteer? It's February. Love.
I think, what if we had a volunteer for each activity?
I think that's a good idea.
Has anybody done any kind of problem prioritization type session where, you know, trying to decide as a team what should we work on?
Yes, I'll do that one. I'll volunteer myself.
Cody.
I was going to volunteer you anyway.
Good job.
Just so you know, the next session's the 9th of February.
February 9th. Okay.
You don't have a hot date or anything?
I'm sure I do, but I can disappoint them. It's all right.
Okay. You often do.
I mean, which one of these activities are we talking about? Like business canvas?
I thought I heard you say problem prioritization, but there's like several different things in here that
Yeah. Just
dance around that, right?
Choose the one you want from a problem prioritization method.
Okay.
And then
let's see here.
It's up to you. We're not going to choose it now. You choose it. I'm just looking at what other people said for the next activity after we prioritize a problem. You know, there's probably a SWOT analysis that should be part of that.
Okay.
Right.
Gonna
the strategy development, I feel like that's, for me, that's the hypothesis development.
Okay. I can do a SWOT.
Yeah, I can volunteer for the hypothesis unless someone's like, nope, I got a killer process that will change the world. Anybody?
So 1, 2, 3, 4. I was moving those out. 5.
I think vision is important.
So those 5 that I moved apply to the topic that I was volunteered for.
The prioritization
that I could talk about. Yeah.
Well, first we got to prioritize the problems, right?
Okay. So you just want to focus just on that. Okay.
I just want a group of very smart people get into alignment on what are we going to do and what are we going to work on.
It might be nice though to have Cody teach us a little bit about like prioritization in general, and then we apply it to prioritizing the problem.
Cool.
I like that. Yeah, because we still need to get the education part in here. I mean, if people come in the middle of this and they're going to go, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Right. least at that point, we're talking about prioritization. And by the way, I'll catch you up. Here's the stuff, right?
Yeah. My only question is a mission statement, right?
Yep.
Like, how, like that seems not like a prioritization. That seems like once you prioritized it and you decided you're going to move into something, then understand the mission statement.
So one of the things I see is that priorities are based on efforts that are not actionable. So you need to understand exactly how to create an actionable statement so that you can know that you're prioritizing properly.
Okay.
At least that's how I think about it.
Yep.
So Cody, make sure, are we doing this all in February?
I think these are all very short things, and you can group them together as related in terms of framing the problem to go find direction.
So where's your grouping?
So like,
I pulled them to the side here, these four.
Prioritization matrix, information.
Mission statement. I think these are the same. I wrote this one. I don't know if whoever wrote this one meant it's the same as what I wrote, but it sounds like it.
So the first thing you're going to walk us through is like different ways to prioritize big business initiatives, like large, like pet brushes, right?
So let's break this down here. I guess it depends on. Are you asking or are you telling?
Well, because we have a goal to decide what initiatives we're going to work on.
Yep.
And run through our strategic approach, and then go through and run it through the entire thing. And there's questions that I've heard. The big question is, are we going to focus on one initiative or multiple initiatives? Can I bring in my own initiative? Let's say they don't agree with what initiative we choose. Can they work on their initiative and just gather people to help along the way?
Yeah, that's your pod.
Yeah.
And you all align on the initiative. We can have like 20 initiatives happening.
Yep.
You know, everybody's going out and doing their thing, or they do it on their own. But that's not very thinking. Have at least.
That'll be the first thing we need to do. We need to decide what we're gonna work on, what are the pods, and get into agreement that those pods are gonna exist. Then I feel like we're moving into understanding my vision and mission, right? Yeah. So I just want to make sure that we do that first, and that could be here's ways you can prioritize. Yep.
This is Kanban, so I just want to make sure it's captured the way you want.
Oh, I didn't see that up there. Okay.
You can either copy and paste the card, or you can add the new card at the bottom.
Cool.
And we're getting about time, so I want to make sure we finish that up before we leave. But then maybe I can keep organizing this, I guess.
I just pasted to the chat a volunteermatch.org hit that I had in the Phoenix, Arizona area for the American Youth Literacy Foundation. They're looking for two people to help with a thing. It's a volunteer. They're joining a UX team. I wonder if this might be something that like we could contribute to like as a real thing. They're trying to launch an app. It looks like, just because the time frame of like when we can have something ready for someone who's looking for a thing might not fit their schedule, or or their release schedule or whatever.
Yep.
I like it.
It's
put me in trouble.
definitely not something that's time. You know, it's, if there's an urgency and it needs to happen tomorrow, we're definitely not gonna.
Yeah, we're not the right group for that.
We're not the right group.
But if you guys want to go and do it, do something, things out there. I put a man. It's like it comes in and out. It's crazy. I put a problem frame to the right or to the left of the stuff we're doing. So most of you people can come to this link. If you save the link, you can come back in and start throwing problems in there if you want. Keep referring to the stuff. Oh, oh, that's because you're a part of it. Yeah. Anybody outside of Neudesic want to take on something? Or do you want to pair up with somebody? That's fine. Kind of go through it, diverge out with those people.
James just volunteered.
Nice.
I'll take my silence as a yes.
I can do one at some point. I'm just not quite sure when. I can do the value stream mapping one.
Okay. That will get into probably March or April.
Your poor voice, man.
I know. I thought it was good, and then it just goes away. The stupid thing is I feel great. I could go run right now. It's just like I can breathe perfectly fine. It's just my throat's gone.
I can do whatever. I'll just, learn it as I'm researching and
and you also have us. Have everybody on this team and just post it to the Slack group if you're involved in that, or on Facebook or whatever. I am trying to remove myself from Facebook, so the more we can get on the Slack, that'd be the better. But we have that to be used as a tool for collaboration. So we don't have to just relegate all this learning to 2 hours a month. This is what we're going to do, right? If you want to pick a particular effort and go learn it and come back and say, this is what this is my portion of it. And you get to speak that month, for a little bit, and, or pick March or April, whatever.
Okay.
I mean, the likelihood we solve something by the end of the year is very unlikely, but it would be nice if we got close,
Yeah, I could
solve something.
do it for April. Like I could do whatever if you just want to throw me on something.
Do you want to team up with me on value stream mapping?
Sure.
You can also help us facilitate, help whoever's doing the design thinking workshop, facilitate, organize things like that. That would be a quick one.
It would suck though that when people aren't here, oh, I can't make it. Oh no, that kind of screws the whole thing up.
We'll just carry it through.
Right. And I do want something more towards the middle of the year. I like to take more of a break, and do more of an offsite kind of deal, assuming that we can, and we won't all die, somewhere in, June or something, June or July, maybe August. Actually, August is the good month to scream at the weather. So do we want to fill out March, or we just deal with it when we get to February and then we'll?
Yeah. I think so.
Well, are we going to use the methods that we voted on as the order of events, or are we still tying it to that idea?
Yeah,
Well,
we could do journey mapping.
yeah, like some of them align with so somebody had proposed that we do it the way that you would normally do it, right? Like the normal process. And so,
Yeah, out of order doesn't seem terribly helpful if you're going to be like, you don't want to learn the last thing first.
Do we want to try to do journey mapping? Takes a long time to teach.
or we can just show the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And then do a journey map.
Yeah. But that'll take probably the whole 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, got it.
Introducing anything else into March might be a little tough.
Yeah, so maybe,
unless you want to try like empathy mapping or something, that's in here. Empathy mapping is kind of a long process too.
I mean, you should be able to do empathy map in like what, 10 minutes?
You want to do it? Not you. You want to try it?
Yeah, why don't we do empathy map and journey map at the same time,
Yep.
And kind of like, I know Tony had a run, but he mentioned that thing about like user flows are a little lower elevation than like a journey map, right? So maybe we could run, if we have our problems identified from the February meeting, maybe we could run through the flow, a couple of the flows for those.
Okay.
And then what else had, that was, so we had strategy and direction, experience mapping, and the next one was design methods. So is value stream mapping like a design method, or is that in with strategy and direction? Is that, I'm sorry, with experience mapping, is that like an additional layer of experience mapping?
Oftentimes we need the flow or map of before we can do the value part of the stream. So I don't know if it matters if we do the one or the other.
You could do the value stream map at the strategy.
So they're going to do it in April.
The reason it was in April was because that's when the people who volunteered to do it were available.
Yeah, that's fine. But we could do it after the fact, right? Retrofit the value stream map.
I've done that. You get the high level of the journey down and or any user flows, and then you go back and you can start measuring those particular areas.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Maybe we have like a community problem and then pod problem, right? The community problem is the example that everybody sees, and then the pod problem is like when they're applying it to their specific thing.
Yeah, so we can have a long-lasting hypothetical problem,
right?
That kind of stays with us, but other people are going to take that information and go and apply it to their pod if they have a pod. If they don't have a pod, they don't have a pod, right? You're just learning methods.
I think there's going to be a breakout, like a bunch of breakout sessions. You're going to have to upgrade your Zoom if it's not already upgraded.
Damn you.
It'd be a good time to practice running like a 10 or 12 team like ideation session.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how many people are left. I guess still a lot. So keep in mind what you want to do next month. Bring your problems or think about your problems. We'll come up with a problem that we're going to use as a community problem. Something simple, something not too crazy, not too political, not too anything. Just a nice
talking to yourself?
Problem. What?
Are you talking to yourself, Matt?
I am. I was just telling myself not to do that.
I'm gonna bring the problem is how do the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl?
See, it's not a problem. It's like It's only a problem to like 3 people.
Get a new head coach, get a new owner. I could go all day on that one.
So how might we get a new head coach? How might we get a new owner?
The easiest path to go from A to B is to choose a new team to root for.
That is not in the cards, my friend.
I know, and I'm a Vikings fan, so like we're resetting, so whatever.
I wish it was that easy.
Nice. I wish you guys from different states could come to our mid-year break and usability day. Well, usability day, I don't know what we're gonna do. It all depends. It's like all up in the air. But the mid-year break and UX Miss are gonna be on site. I'm just gonna force the issue. And
you know what I could think would be interesting is if we choose a problem where if we have an opportunity to do research out in the wild, we can get some research data from the different locations where people are living. Like, I don't know, like if it was something related to a coffee shop, right? So I think I heard someone was in San Francisco, someone was in Dallas or Austin. It'd be interesting to hear like the problems in that locale and, you know, how they stack up with what we observe here in Metro Phoenix.
That's awesome.
That'd be cool.
Alan just volunteered for the research methods.
I was just
love another.
I just got back in November from doing a contextual inquiry with technicians who fix Starbucks espresso machines.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah. I know this place.
I can't tell you how many times people came up to me, tried to order a drink. I'm like, sorry, I'm just doing research.
I'm literally just staring at this machine.
I have a notepad. I'm writing shit down.
You work there. Do you work there or you're consulting for them?
We're a partner of theirs.
Oh.
We're a technology partner of theirs.
Cool.
So it's fun. Enterprise.
I like Black Rock coffee. Although I went there the other day and the music was so friggin' loud, I couldn't even sit there. Like I was like, dude, like I can't even think.
They're opening one right next to our office, so I don't know anything about it other than the one that I drive by is always busy right off of the 101 in McDowell, I think.
Oh yeah. They're getting they're a little bit between a Starbucks and the vibe is like Dutch Brothers, right? So they kind of merge the vibe of Dutch Brothers with the more sophistication of like a Starbucks. So you can, they have really nice areas to work in it, but their coffee probably aligns a little bit more to the flavor profile of like Dutch Brothers.
Are they local? Are they national, regional?
They're definitely not just local. I think they're in other states.
Anyone else been to a Black Rock?
I think I've only seen their logo. That's about it.
I've gone a few times to Black Rock. I'm just not a big fan of Starbucks. It's too sweet for me. Like I live right across the street from Dutch Bros, so that's usually my go-to.
That's sweet. Oh my god. I can't.
It's like the exact opposite experience I've had. Interesting.
I don't want to. Yeah, Dutch Brothers. I feel myself exploding when I drink it.
Dutch Bros is the only way I got through college. Writing a grad paper was a 6-shot, large 6-shot caramelizer up till 3 a.m. writing, grad papers. I couldn't even drink one of those now, though. I'd be like too jittery. I'd be off the chart. So
there's like 20 or so Black Rocks in the valley, but you're right. I don't see them really anywhere else. Maybe it is just a local deal. Yeah, I think it's only Arizona. I like their blackout. It's a hazelnut. I don't know why they call it blackout. It makes it sound like it's super dark, but it isn't.
I'm a straight coffee black or an espresso. Like I can't do any flavor. No
they do.
sugar. I'm down. Like that's it.
I'm the same way, Danny. Except I might get whipped cream in there or ice cream in there every once in a while.
Ice cream.
Yeah, affogato.
Sounds
Right.
good.
Just stick donut in it. Nobody
And
done,
we've diverged.
but
I was
not
gonna say one. Oh, sorry. One thing that I love about design thinking is getting people who don't normally work together because they're in different departments and building camaraderie.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
I agree.
That's where
It's
the
the best
magic
way to
happens.
get. Yeah, it's the best way to innovate. Right?
Yeah, you convert those people that weren't necessarily design thinkers, and now they're applying that to what they do, and it's pretty sweet. Is that the Suns game behind you?
It's Bulls.
Oh, well,
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, the Suns are playing later tonight, I think.
got it.
Oh, maybe it's now.
All right, I'm probably gonna have to get going. This was super awesome. We got an agenda for February. Anybody that's left here, but you'll probably hear it on the recording. And I guess we'll shut it down.
Awesome.
I'll talk
Ciao,
to you.
everyone.
Night, everyone.
Great,
Bye.
great meetup.
See you guys. Bye.
Yeah.